What we're going to do today is we are going to work on how to paint a lemon. We're going to discuss how you paint a subject that's round in shape and how sometimes when you're painting with yellow, it can be a little tricky to get your highlights and your shadows just right so that your object looks realistic. We're going to discuss how to determine which direction the light is coming from and where it's hitting the lemon and where to put your shadows. And we're also going to talk about how to use your yellow in a very light wash for your lightest colors and then make it a little more saturated and even add a little color into it so that you can get a realistic shadow. And that's also going to make the lemon look like a lemon and have the correct shape. If you're new here to my channel, my name is Nina. Welcome. I just want to thank you for being here today. And if you're already subscribed to my channel, thank you for being here today and welcome back. If you enjoy the content that I put out here on YouTube, and if you haven't already, I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe to my channel and don't forget to hit the notification bell. That way, whenever I put a new tutorial on my channel, you'll get a notification. Now, come on along and let's jump into this quick tutorial. So I already have put masking fluid onto my lemon, and the places where I put it is right in here and a little bit right down in there. When we look at our little reference photo, I see highlights here and I see some reflected highlights down there. So just use a little bit of masking fluid, not very much at all, and made small little dots and squiggles, nothing crazy. So to get this started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet the whole area where the lemon is. I'm going to avoid the stem area that will be painted in separately. I'm just going to use a nice watery consistency of some yellow right now, and this is going to end up being the lightest value on the lemon. So this is more or less like a tea wash. It's more water than pigment, quite a bit more water than pigment. But that's what we want in order to make sure that this is going to be our very lightest value, and then we'll just build up on top of it. Now, one thing you want to make sure of is when you are trying to get a full wash in on something, you need to make sure, first of all, that you have enough water on your paper. I find that water control is something that a lot of people, when they're first starting out, or maybe you've been painting for a while, but you still quite haven't figured out how much water to use. It comes with time and practice, but what I always do is when I'm putting my water on first, I make sure that I put a little bit more on than what I'm going to need. So it is very shiny, it's got a glass-like appearance to it, and if I turned my paper up, it would actually puddle a little bit. And I just keep smoothing that water around, getting it to sink into the paper and get down into the fibers of the paper. And that way, when I put my paint on, it's going to follow the moisture, which means it's going to sink into the paper also. So now I've got my very lightest wash on here, and I need to let it dry. It's time for our second wash, and this dried lighter than I really need it to be. So I'm going to do the same step again in that I'm going to get it all wet and then come back in with some yellow a second time. This time I'm going to have a little more pigment in my water. See, I've added more than I had in the beginning, and I'm going to start out here because this is the side of the lemon where the direct light is not hitting it. It's over here on this side. So I'm going to start putting my paint down in here, and I'm going to blend this color out just a little bit more. Now I'm going to go ahead while I'm here, and I'm going to draw some more of my yellow paint over, and I'm going to get it even a thicker consistency here. This is more of what I would call skim milk. And I'm going to go ahead and drop some of that in just so that I've got it in place. And it comes around down here. I want to bring some of that color around over here on this outside edge, because I'm just looking at my reference photo and I see that it has a little bit of dark color out there. I want to make sure that this is nice and smooth. The dark and the light gradually blend into each other and nothing looks strange. So guess what we need to do now? We need to let this dry again. So I'm ready to get started back on this again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag some of this yellow over, and I'm going to put a little bit of red in there. I'm wanting this to lean just slightly to the orange direction, but not a ton. And in order to keep this area light, I am going to put water just right here so that when I paint my color on, it is going to gradually and softly blend into this area. I'm going to start it out here, and then I'll just take it across and then allow it to blend together. While I'm here, I'm going to pull some yellow out, take a little bit of my blue and mix into it and create a little bit of a green, because this little area right down here does have some green in it. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in right now and get it done. Once again, I've got to let it dry in order to be able to come back and finish it up. I'm going to go ahead and at this point, I'm going to remove the masking fluid. So now we have this little highlighted area up here. I want to create one more color to paint on here, and going to use all three of my colors, mixing them together. And I want to come up with kind of a greenish yellow. Let me check this out. What I'm going to do this time is get this wet, because I see a little bit, very light, of some darker color in here, but it's kind of leans green just a little bit. I'm going to drop that right down in here. Get my brush loaded up a little bit more. And this is subtle, so I'm not putting a thick consistency of paint on here, just enough in order to darken this up just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and now remove this masking fluid. Now at first it's going to be way too bright, but we're going to tone it down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some yellow, put a little bit of the red in it, but I'm going to water it down because I don't want to go in here with a lot of paint at first. I'm just going to paint right over those highlights and see how they look. I think I'll even take a little bit of my red and put some of that in there also. So I'm just kind of playing around here, see what looks good, see what's going to work. All right, so that looks good to me. I am satisfied with it. So for that stem, I'm just going to take some of this yellow paint. I'm painting this wet on to dry. I'm going to pick up a little bit of blue, not a lot, just a little bit. I'm going to paint some of this blue right on top of that wet yellow. So now I have a much darker blue, no, not a darker blue, a darker green. It's a very thick consistency, and I'm going to paint that right along this edge because this side of the stem is darker because there is no sunlight hitting this side. I have that a little bit orangey colored yellow that I made, and I'm just putting that in a couple of places to show how the lemon is shaped on top. I have a very buttery consistency of a really dark brown. And right around this stem, I need to paint in some of this dark color. So this is our completed lemon. And as you can see, we kept the light side light with the highlights. This is where the direct light is hitting the lemon. This side is the darker side, except for a little bit of reflected light right down here. But you can tell that just by putting a little more saturated color and changing up the color just slightly with some of that red and a little bit of blue has given us this rounded shape of a lemon. All right, that's it. We're all done painting this lemon. I really hope that you learned something new today and that it was beneficial and valuable to you, that you'll be able to use it in all of your future painting projects. And remember, if you have any questions or need help with anything, I'm only an email away. I'm going to have my email listed in the description box below for you. And also, if you're interested in painting this whole tutorial, I'm going to have that linked in the description box below as well. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope to paint with you again soon. Bye.